and welcome to episode 95 of the So Bet Punks podcast, a podcast about meaning, transcendence, awe, and spirituality with a small or a big S, depending on you, and it doesn't matter which. My name's Siobhan.
And I'm Dave. And it's late.
It is late. It's almost bedtime.
I think we should start this podcast by discussing bedtime.
Disclaimer. Well, we're only about an hour away from bedtime. What time is everyone else's bedtime? What's the normal bedtime?
Do you think you're talking to somebody? It's 7 o'clock in the evening.
I
know. Which is, we've had our dinner.
Only just.
And we're going to try now and record a podcast. So this might be a sleepy one. It might be a relaxed one.
Who knows?
It might be a joyful one. Let's hope.
I think the people don't care. But maybe they do care.
I think bedtime is important.
Bedtime is important.
Bedtime is important, folks. We go to bed very early now, but we get up very early.
Yeah.
And I prefer life that way.
Well, it's definitely been part of the... I don't know. It feels like you're tricking yourself, but you're not. This is probably how people lived for a long time. But getting up early in the morning tricks you into thinking you've got more day, even if at the end of the day you go to bed early and you've had the exact same amount. I think there's something to be gotten out of getting up early, especially if it's like the sun's only just coming up or it's still dark, and then being awake whilst it turns from night to day. I don't know. There's something about that period of time that I feel is relaxing, is helpful. Get quite a lot done in that time. I don't know.
Yeah. And do you think we all do more useless things in the evening than we do in the morning? Maybe useless is pushing it, but it's somewhere between partying down with your bros or sort of watching Netflix, isn't it?
I think I've heard different things about this. And I think the honest answer is it depends on who you are. I think our modern culture with, go to work all day, work really hard, and then come home, the evening does become the place for relaxation. But there are some people that find that they get a lot more done in the evenings, like, I don't know, creatives and authors, and I'm thinking
Drug addicts.
I'm thinking of drug addicts. I'm thinking of Andrew Huberman. I remember he saying, and he says, like, think it's whatever works for you, but he's like, I can work really well in the evenings. He gets up early in the morning. He works on no sleep pretty much, but again, not in a kind of manic way, not in a kind of I think he's drug addled way. I think he's just someone who
he's definitely not. I think we can say with fair amount of certainty that he's not drug addled in any way. The famous biologist and thinker.
But you know what I mean? Like, some people might take stimulants and therefore have no need for sleep. Whereas he's quite clearly not in that camp. But he says he doesn't need much sleep. He seems to operate really well on like 4 hours sleep, and he's not manic. But whatever works for different people.
I think Vonnegut wrote a lot at night. But then I think Vonnegut also used to just get drunk and ring old friends and then write about it.
I feel like he's not the same as Andrew Huberman.
No, I'm not suggesting they are. I'm trying to think of people that do well.
Almost opposites when it comes to their consumptions. But yeah, no, I think it depends on the person. But I agree.
Motley Crue used to record late.
I doubt they were up pre 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
God, what a waste.
But yeah, no, it's a dangerous thing to fall into, because you can get to like 9 in the morning, and if you haven't achieved something, you start to think, oh God, I've wasted the day, when you truly haven't. So you have to be careful with what you do. But I mean,
that's all about having right concentration, though, isn't it? In some ways.
Oh, he's sliding it in
right
there.
And right thinking.
Right thinking. There you go. But I don't know. Long and short of it, early morning wake ups have done me a world of good, and it means going to bed early doesn't feel like a waste. No. But you also do have the, I feel like sometimes I'm tested that I have the ability to stay up late, like going to a gig. It's a struggle, but we get there.
We went to a gig.
We did. You played it.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? You were very good.
Good.
You were very good.
Good. I hadn't thought I had, so I wouldn't have brought it up if I'd known. But we've both had full days. Well, I've been at work. I was going to say you've been at work, but you haven't. But you've been working on things. We've only been in for an hour. We've listened to Billy Joel.
Yeah.
We've heard the Bouncing Souls do a terrible cover of Hybrid
Oh,
Moments.
I heard that from the other room. That sounded absolutely joke. I didn't want to come in and find out who it was because I was scared it would be someone good.
We've
There we are.
had a slightly sad discussion about abortion for a while.
Out of nowhere.
Turns out that there's a random Billy Joel album track it's called something like, it's got Layla in, or Layla I think is the name. It's got a name in the title. It's from the album Glass Houses. And it is exactly the same as Died in Your Arms Tonight.
Yeah. There you go.
And I think that the Mr. Band, which is, I think, the full name of that band.
The Mr. Band.
The Mr. Band really ripped it off. I mean, it's grotesque. If anybody, you've all got the internet, I should imagine. You can all go and listen to. Find. Stop! I just died in your arms. You've all got the internet. Don't worry about us singing. Go and listen to this Billy Joel song because it'll blow your mind how much they ripped it off. Yeah. It's a great album.
It is. Sorry, I'm not.
No, it's all right. We're not. This isn't a podcast really as much as it is just. I did warn you. We should be in bed really. It's a fantastic album. It's got a brilliant song on it called "Sleeping with the Television On," which was always a big love of mine as a younger man. I bought this record from a boot fair in probably the early noughties.
Aww.
I was really into Billy Joel for a little while.
I remember you playing me a lot of Billy Joel when we first met.
I probably played you Sleeping with the Telephone.
You a lot of meaning.
Television on even. Anyhow, we're talking about spirituality and things, aren't we?
Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. Is there anything else you want to get off your chest?
What, about Billy Joel?
Anything. Clearly, this podcast has just turned into an utter mess. So you can talk about anything. You love talking about anything.
Oh God,
Siobhan.
I do. I don't know. It's been a stressful few weeks of work. Actually, no, it hasn't. I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast before.
Probably.
But work has been horrible recently. Just truly awful. And it's still, oh gosh, there's still tons and tons of issues. But I think, in the NHS or in workplaces or maybe this happens to everyone. You have waves of it being bad and then it turns and becomes good again. And I think we're just experiencing the turn, which is nice. You got to realise it when it happens. And go with it and try and work it. Well, maybe not try and work out why. That's probably thinking about it too much. But just enjoy it for what it is, because sometimes there is no why. It's so complicated and there's tons of things. So yes, work is a bit better, and so I feel a little less stressed and a little more happy. So that's good.
Good. I'm glad. I find that corner happened about a week ago too. Literally, ironically, when the summer holidays ended. I work in retail, and that is 6 weeks of hell.
There you go.
So we like to start this podcast by saying, so we haven't prepared anything.
This is terrible, isn't it?
So just bear with us, guys. This could be.
We've got things to ram
glorious. It might not be glorious. We shall see. But I only bring that up in the middle of my own sentence because I just realised I haven't prepared for this. So I think, as with last time, I'm going to be furiously thinking about what it is I'm going to be talking about. But we start this podcast every episode by telling. Well, we started with a load of nonsense.
Yeah, it turns out it's complete.
And then we cut into the real heavy stuff,
Eventually.
and we tell you about something that we have done over the last couple of weeks that has provided us with a sense of transcendence and awe and spirituality. And Siobhan always goes first, which gives me time
to think of something
to say.
So I have two things, both pretty minor, but both. One has taken up a lot more of our life, and I can't believe I'm shoehorning it into this section. I just realised I probably should have discussed it before. So I'll start with the one that's probably actually meaningful. So it is related to work. I work in a mental health facility, and recently, with it being so stressful and busy, I have not been able to actually spend much time with many of the patients. And it does make you start feeling a little purposeless at work, and you start to kind of lose your way with it and maybe not enjoy it so much. And I've been thinking about why that is. And these little connections that you do get to do give you the meaning in the thing that you do. Especially in mental health, and in this, I work in it's a low secure forensic unit, so people are there a while. You get the opportunities to make connections and really, do long-term sort of work with people. And there's a guy who just transferred to our ward, patient who is my like named patient, but I just haven't had the chance to sit with him at all.
Please maintain confidentiality.
Obviously, I'm going to maintain confidentiality.
You say obviously.
I'll do my best. No, I definitely will. And on the previous ward, he was someone who was very kind of standoffish, isolating, stayed out of the way, quite rude to people, quite hostile. But there's been nothing of the sort since moving to our ward, and that can happen for a number of reasons. And I have just felt this kind of like sense of guilt that I haven't had the chance to like spend any time with this person at all, when he seems to be kind of isolating at the best of times and sometimes coming out to see if I'm around or see if people are around. Anyway, this is a long waffle to get to a fairly simple point. He asked me the other day, Siobhan, can you play chess? And I was like, no. Like, I know what the pieces do technically, but that doesn't mean I can play chess. And he, without harassing me, because we get harassed all the time at work, he just politely just mentioned it a few times during the day, and I was like, this person's actually keen to do this, and he's not keen to do anything really. So I managed to like carve out some time, which never really happens, and actually, to the annoyance of the rest of my team, I kept telling them I'm busy. And I played chess with a guy for 2 hours, and it was just so good for so many reasons. This person was such a great teacher, given that he doesn't speak to anyone or do anything, and he's quite standoffish. He was incredibly patient. We did a guided game where
if he was teaching you chess, he must have been extraordinarily patient.
I mean, this guy could be discharged now as far as I'm concerned. He was incredible. He was so patient with me, and like just managed to, this is probably going to be awe as well as meaning, but like I was just in awe of how much someone can teach you without babying you. It's like, it's a real skill. I was just kind of flabbergasted actually. Teach you without babying you, make you feel like you're actually still involved, that they're not having to like completely dumb it down in order to have a game with you, because this guy can really play chess and was playing people that were much better than me and they weren't around, so thus he's training me up. But just 2 hours of solid like effort, concentration, patience with me, fun, like genuine fun, because sometimes, you know, our patients can be difficult or have difficult personalities that make them not that fun to spend that amount of time with. This was so much fun, so good. And yeah, it's a kind of a like basic thing to point out really, but it was just a nice way to get to know someone and get to know them without asking loads of questions about themselves, like doing a task with someone and seeing how they actually react and how they act in those kind of situations, I think says an awful lot more about them than just sitting there and asking them questions. Because I've done that before with this guy when I first met him. We had to sit and do, you know, go through all this sorts of stuff. And yeah, it's just a different thing. I don't really know where that goes beyond that.
Did you win?
Gave me,
did you win?
It was a draw. He said we're going to have to trash the game because we've both got these pieces that we can't.
See, I wish that I was interviewing him, because I imagine his version of this will be very different.
I know. He did.
When you say he said we're going to have to trash this game, I know that feeling, Siobhan. I've spent a long time with you.
I know.
Played a lot of games with you in my life.
And I think actually you're probably pretty shit at chess if you both get down to the pieces we were down to. But
sorry, Siobhan, we're going to have to trash this game. Please never talk to me again.
No,
you're a pest.
Yeah, this is how people try and teach me pool, and it always goes the same way.
People? Me?
No, my patients at work.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, we're all terrible at it. But it was just really nice.
Again, we're all terrible at it. Suggests that it might just be you.
It is me. I used to be quite good at it. Like I played the Amiga when I was like 10, and I had a good.
You mean the Amiga computer system?
Yes.
Oh, chess. I thought you were going to claim that you played the Amiga computer system at pool, and therefore you were good at pool.
That's how I learned pool, from a basic computer from the 90s. I had a chess game that was incredible, and I remember playing hours of it. So I must have been all right at chess at one point, although I don't remember it at all really. where it was like a 2D board and you made your move, and then once you made your move, the pieces became 3D and they had a battle. So if it was like...
Oh, like they had a fight?
Yeah, they have a fight,
Yeah.
and you know which is going to take the piece, but you just watch a little fight, act it out. It was really fun. And anyway, that was my only chess experience prior to this, so... It's been fun. That was my main one. The other one, and maybe this is just going to be a long old waffle, is we recently made our way through the seasons of Lost, the TV programme that came out in the early 2000s.
Yes.
I think it went on through the 2000s, probably ended in 2010-ish.
It was probably a bit earlier than that, but yeah, about that.
Yeah. Something we tried to do is watch it a bit at a time, episode a week. There were some weeks that went way over that, but trying not to binge watch it too much, and try and like take our time watching it as the olden days when you could only watch an episode at a time, which I think is important for something like Lost.
Yeah, well, I think we did quite a good job of it.
We did
towards the end. It got
better.
worse, but
Yeah.
but to begin with, we did quite a good job of it. And I think we've talked about this before, but I mean, it's obvious what the good things about that are.
Yeah.
But, you know, anticipation,
Yeah.
and it was made to be shown that way.
Yeah.
And
the cliffhangers work, the things that require thinking get the time to be thought about.
yeah,
Because some of the things about thinking... I just sound like... This is the problem with doing this in the evening. I sound like an absolute cretin.
we're not drunk, ladies and gentlemen.
But some of the things about thinking is you need time, and you need your brain to wander off and have an insight, and have a random, oh yeah, that's what that meant. Oh, okay, that's what they meant by that. And I think we've talked about it before. Like, that's it's not the flow state, but it's something about our brains when they're kind of left to subconsciously put it all together when you're not actively thinking about it. It's why we have to sleep. It's why we dream. Loads of things to get from that. If you're watching things back to back to back to back, you're gonna miss some of those things.
Yeah, it's about slowing down as well, isn't it? It's literally about slowing down. I mean, I don't think that, frankly, we were made to take in information in the way that we take in information now.
No.
So it's quite a small thing to do. But I think even if you think about it, Netflix is addictive because of the constant. It's not constant scroll, is it? I don't know what you call it.
No, but it is the equivalent.
The
isn't
equivalent,
it?
yeah. And I think, like, even if you're someone who doesn't think that's a problem and loves to binge watch stuff on Netflix, if you're watching like a TV show, taking even like an hour, just watch an episode and then leave it an hour and go and do something else and then before going back, because you probably won't go back, because the addiction that Netflix was you immediately will break that. But also, it just gives you that time to think about it and appreciate it, and not just in an artistic way, although that's probably the most important, but also I think just in a general way. We watched Ben Hur the other day, and maybe I should have saved this for my one. Maybe I will, but I'm still going to talk about it now. Ben Hur, the film from the, 50s, I guess?
Late 50s,
Late
yeah.
50s. And it's one of those big epic films where they've got loads and loads. It's famously got the most extras or something in it, huge sets, really over the top stuff.
Yeah.
And in some ways, it's just about appreciating the pure skill that kind of went into that. Like, it was a great film and I really enjoyed it and I thought about it in lots of ways. But one of the ways was just like, wow.
Yeah.
The stuff that they did. Well, you can't really do that if you sit down at 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning and consume anything that comes up on your Netflix feed until 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And then go to bed. I mean, you should be going to bed earlier than that. But, but yeah, I think there's something about just slowing down so that you can just appreciate, like, actually, and the bad things too. Like, I really appreciated the skill that went into writing Lost and acting in Lost and making it. But then every now and again there would be an episode with some awful CGI.
Yeah.
And, but you could also, to some extent, you go away, at least for that week, every now and again, you think to yourself, God, that was awful, that submarine.
Don't know
Why
why
did
they
they make
did
that
that.
submarine? But the thing is, you're not going to think that if you've watched 20 episodes in the meantime. And maybe that's not a good thing. Maybe that's a bad argument. But
But I think you just can't even. I think you just need time to appreciate things, even if, like you say, it's that you got nothing out of it. You might get something out of it later, like something might just crop into your brain. And that's kind of how I've been feeling. So we've just finished it. And one of the things that I mean, straight off the bat, I really enjoyed Lost. I remember people enjoying it at the time, and I was like, I've missed it. I can't bring myself to watch it now. And I thought I'd never watch it, actually. But anyway, I adored it. But one of the things I knew about Lost is that a lot of people were really upset with how it ended. I think the critiques were that by about season like 3 or 4, there's 6 seasons, and I think 3 or 4 or 4 or 5 were considered to be a bit wandering and dull and duff. And there definitely are moments, and I cannot pick out when or which storylines or anything like that. But there were moments where you thought, this is what's happening now? What's dragging on? But everyone, well, not everyone, but a popular complaint was about how it ended. I don't want to bang on about the ending. I mean, I knew vaguely what the ending was before watching it because it was talked about so much.
I think we can spoil it.
Well, so just to say, the ending I was told and the ending it is are different, I would say.
Interesting. Okay, we're going to need to talk about this then, because I think you must have been told the thing that So just to put into context as well, so I did watch it at the time.
Yeah.
I'm actually not 100% sure if I made it to the end.
Yeah.
But from about midway through the run, everybody just started saying, this is just going to be purgatory. Or that was like a rumour that came out, if this might be purgatory. And then people decided it was purgatory. I don't know where, because it would have been too early for the internet. But there was definitely that's what everyone was talking about. And then I think that fundamentally, one of the reasons most people were disappointed about it was because it's sort of purgatory. But so I'm interested to know what
So I was told that it was a dream, which sucks.
Oh.
And it isn't that. I mean, It clearly isn't that when I watched it. So I've probably misunderstood it, or people have misrepresented it to me when I heard what the rumor was. But I remember people being as disappointed as finding out it was just a dream. Or
do you think those simple folks of Norfolk didn't get it?
Well, I think it's more. I think what people didn't like about it was the potential that it wasn't real. So that they just watched all of that.
Well, as that Buddhist nun had said to us once, what is real?
Oh, I know. But I think
I think that's quite appropriate statement to a show like Lost, though, isn't it? I mean, what?
True.
Well, on 2 different levels, on both a meta level and literally if you take it as real, you know.
I guess absolute spoilers, because I'm assuming either you've watched it or if you've watched it, then this makes sense. If you haven't, then we're not really explaining it. People crash on an island in a plane crash, and then it's watching them figure out things, and it gets a bit otherworldly and multiple storylines and time travel-y. But I think what I was told was it was going to be a dream, or it didn't really happen. And so at some point, when did it stop becoming real, if that makes sense? But I would say, having watched it, I absolutely adore, and it's only with time, because straight after, as soon as it finished, I think I turned to you and I was like, I don't think I get it. I think I get it on a very basic level, and my basic level was, they're now all dead. And yeah, when you said purgatory, I was like, yeah, that probably fits with what I think just happened. But it's kind of like a mixture of the things.
How did you take it though? What did you think was the?
Well, I guess it's just because it's trying to work out from which point they're dead. Because the way it was explained, did they all just hit the island and die, and then the whole thing is purgatory?
I mean, I don't necessarily think it's important in a way, but in as much as I don't think it's ever supposed to be clear.
Yeah, maybe
but
not.
But I would argue that it sort of works. Almost the beauty of it is that it works in lots of different ways in that context.
Yeah.
So it could work that episode 1, when the plane crashes, they all die.
Yeah.
And then 7 seasons later, you find out that they've all died, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It could also, all the weird stuff that happened on the island, and all the weird, lots and lots and lots of things happened.
Yeah.
At any point during all of that, they could have come untouched from reality or whatever. or equally have died. But I mean, I've always
Yeah.
taken it to just be that they died when the plane crashed.
And the rest of it is just like fiddle-de-diddly. along
But it's
the way.
not fiddle-de-diddly, is it? Because it's all very important. So the fact that they're not alive doesn't make everything that happened. In a way, I would argue, makes everything that happened more important.
Yeah, true. I don't know. I flit around in my brain about it.
Which is potentially the sign of good art.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing. Like, I just remember, like, the fact that I'm still thinking about it now and still wrestling with what it meant and what's actually happened and how much of it is the real life and how much of it is all purgatory and, you know, but the themes of, like, getting the opportunity to work it all out and then having this sudden realization that you've done it, fits with enlightenment. It fits with the idea of doing good for the sake of good, because none of them were doing it thinking they were dead and hoping to get into heaven or whatever the point of it is. They were all doing it because they were just trying to do the right thing, having not done the right thing their entire lives. For some reason, they didn't really know why they were doing what they were doing.
Which you could take as an exact description of what religion is.
Yeah. Putting faith in the fact that you're just doing good for the sake of doing good.
Yeah.
Because they weren't... Because this is the thing I like about it. And this is why in the last episode, they all have these kind of like realizations and memories of their life, their past, the life that they... What I think is their real life, and the other life is the purgatory life in a way. Oh, it's a bit of a mixture too. It could be all sorts of ways. But they all kind of like... all the people in the world where it didn't happen wake up and realize that it did happen, and all the friendships and all the good things that they did whilst they were on the island, purgatory or not.
If you haven't watched Lost, that was the worst description of what happened. I mean, as you the listener will know, because you've just sat through it, the worst description of anything. I don't know what that meant.
But what?
And I watched it with you, and I've got a vague idea of what you're trying to get at. But that was... Do you remember when we used to do movie reviews about 3,000 years ago? That sounded like one of your descriptions.
Deleted, yeah, we'd be starting again. You'd be turning the laptop off.
Of a
like,
film we
Siobhan,
just watched.
Siobhan, you can't say that.
Well, there was this man. I think he was a man. And there was like, I don't know, like a car, I think. And then I don't know, there was another man.
Anyway,
25 minutes later, and then I don't know. Then it ended.
Anyway, I liked it. It made me happy.
Good, I'm
It's
glad.
given me things to think about, and I like the idea of redemption. I like the idea of good for the sake of good. None of them knew they were dead, so they didn't know what they were doing was just to get to somewhere better.
Don't start again.
No, I love it. I love it though. I love it.
All right. Well, I'll say that I remember being disappointed by it, and I can't remember again. I don't know whether I gave up on it. I definitely watched a good chunk of it, but I might have given up on it by the end. So I don't know whether my disappointment was through what I'd heard or whether I actually watched it and was disappointed. I think I watched it and I think I was disappointed. But having watched the episode again, and like I say, my understanding is that the reason that most people were disappointed was because more or less everyone guessed the ending way earlier. And so it was kind of common knowledge, and so I think then it was like, well, they can't possibly make it this thing that everyone thinks it is, and then it just was. That's how I remember it. Anyway.
Okay.
And I remember feeling that way. But watching it again, what I missed entirely was actually that the last episode, I think, was just beautiful.
Yeah.
So the thing that you were trying to describe is that all of the characters have basically forgotten who they are by the end.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously they've all created these relationships that have lasted throughout the 7 seasons, and they've all been a bit of an emotional roller coaster ride. And so one by one, they all remember their past, and they all remember all the things that they did on the island, which includes a lot of people who've fallen in love with each other and a lot of people who've fallen in love with people that have then died, but now they're not dead. And so it was just extraordinarily emotional, because there was just this point within every character where they would touch someone and it would all come flooding back, and then they just did it really well, and it just made you well up every time.
Yeah.
And I just thought that it doesn't, in that respect, and again, I think you can read the ending in a lot of different ways, and I don't think Purgatory quite does it the justice of what it is. And I think probably coming from a slightly more religious place, I can see a lot of that in it, and I would be intrigued. I mean, I definitely don't think that anyone involved in it was pushing a religious message in any way, but it's definitely got one at the end.
It's I think religion plays a big part throughout the later seasons anyway, with the good and evil, the duality of everything.
Yeah, interesting that it was made when it was as well, which was the sort of absolute zenith of the new atheists and, religion is dead. And but I would not have appreciated any of that at the time anyway, is the point. But the point is that, I think this taught me a lesson about something, is that I remember being disappointed with it because I basically said, oh yeah, no, it just turned out to be exactly what I expected. But by having that attitude, I completely missed the fact that they'd made this masterpiece.
Yeah.
I genuinely think, I don't know, I think it just struck me particularly because I was expecting nothing, and it was just like, my God, this is amazing.
It's being smacked over the face over and over again with just like, I remember this wonderful life over and over again, because there's a lot of characters that do a lot of remembering. Yeah.
And it's just really affecting. And so ignoring what the ending was, and I think this is what we do all the time, so particularly with like long form TV, but I think with twist endings and things like that, it's kind of like, well, no, the ending was rubbish. Well, that's just that's another thing where you're just not appreciating maybe something else that's within it. Why does everything have to be all sewn up at the end? Like, why does everything have to reach you, like hit your needs of like, I want to be satisfied by this ending. Oh no, Superman did not satisfy me with his ending. It's like, well, that's
sorry,
just well, I'm just
Superman didn't satisfy you with his ending.
But that's such a modern attitude. It's such an attitude of the internet. It's the internet is what's done it, because what happens is we all want to go on and write a bad review of everything. Well, let's not go and write a bad review. Let's actually appreciate the thing that's being made and presented to us and try and find something good in it. And sure, some films are Meet Joe Black and there's no excuse for it existing.
There's no coming back.
A reference probably from the same time as Lost, I would think.
No, you're right. I think people feel like they somehow deserve the ending that they're dreaming up.
But they can't dream it up themselves. You can't dream it up,
exactly. Like, are you Damon Lindelof? Probably not. I think that's his name, isn't it?
No idea.
But I just thought it was incredible, and it's giving me lots to think about already. Still, we finished it earlier this week, and I plan on continuing thinking about it, whatever crops into my brain. Gave me lots of meaning, and awe, and it is transcendent. There are things in it that it's all about that, actually, at the end. And I want to keep thinking about it. And I might even rewatch that last episode just for all of the meanings.
The thing is, it won't have any of the emotional impact. And in a way, but even the thought of, I might watch that episode again, sort of smacks of the exact problem that we're talking about.
I know, but more, not to like tear it apart or try and understand it more, but just... Like you say, it's a beautiful thing.
But you can't experience something that
it won't be the same. I know.
So by default, it probably will actually ruin. I think it will probably ruin.
Yeah, okay.
Personally, but
there we are.
You do what you want, obviously.
Yeah, I'll see what I feel. But anyway, that was a long old answer for what I said was going to be two minor things, and that's pretty much all I ever do. So Dave, how about you? Meaning, transcendence, or spirituality? Last couple of weeks, go.
Well, I've been so busy getting annoyed about Lost that I haven't come up with anything. So I'm really thinking on my feet now. I might, there might be a couple actually. Ben Hur, I'm going to go back to Ben Hur. Yeah. So, we've said what Ben Hur is already. I really liked it as a film, but it wasn't. That's not really what I'm bringing up. Ben Hur is a very unusual film. I had no idea what it was. Mm-hmm. So when I found it in a charity shop a little while ago, I had no idea it was a biblical reference at all. And actually, it turns out it's not a biblical reference, I don't think. I haven't got to the bottom of this yet, so I'm not going to embarrass myself. But as in, Ben Hur is not a character from the Bible, but it's set in biblical times.
Yeah.
And I had no idea of that at all. I just knew it was this kind of grand epic film. And it's 3.5 hours long, and we've had it for a little while, and it's sort of been sitting around smelling up the place like the Telltale Heart a little bit. Like, you guys aren't really up for watching a 3.5 hour long film, are you? That's what
Just
he kept saying to me.
Yeah.
Your attention spans are rubbish. That sort of thing.
This is going to be boring.
Yeah. And then and of course, another problem with a 3.5 hour film when you go to bed at 8:30 is
start at 4.
You got to start really early. It's just not, doesn't work with your evening. Anyway, we watched it and,
we carved out the time.
And it's fantastic. And I've watched a couple of these things. I don't often go to this period of film. I'm not really interested in those sort of epic films. But I watched Cleopatra not too long ago. I mean, probably a year ago or so. And that, I think, is 4 hours long. And it's another one where it's just all spectacle. But having said that, it's not all spectacle because it's wonderfully written, wonderfully acted. Like, it has all of everything going for it as well. But it's remembered, or maybe even not specifically remembered, but maybe I just know it as being, there's that film that had like millions and millions of pounds were spent on the sets and, loads of extras, and they recreated the pyramids and all this sort of stuff. And I think the same was true of Ben Hur. But the most affecting thing about Ben Hur, maybe this is just where I'm at, and I'm sorry to bring up Jesus again, but is that there's an interesting, so the story is going on whilst the story of Jesus is going on, but Jesus is not in it really.
No.
In fact, he's in it exactly three times, and on every occasion, you don't even see his face. You just sort of see the back of someone who is obviously representing Jesus. Yep. And there was something just really effective about it, and it just made me think a little bit about a number of different things. One thing, so there's 3 points during the film where, in the middle of all the action that's going on in Ben Hur's life, so that one of them is just that Jesus appears and gives him some water when he's in captivity. One of them is that he's angry and he walks past the Sermon on the Mount, or what is about to be the Sermon on the Mount, which is really effective. And they don't mention it. It's just people are saying, there's someone up there that we've got to go and listen to.
Yeah.
And that's it. There's no other mention. And then at the end, he basically finds himself amongst the crowds of the crucifixion. So the crucifixion is a bit more blunt. But the first 2 bits are just so tiny. And they're done in such a good way that I cannot describe filmatically at all. But they're just really emotional, I think. Really emotionally captivating. And but I suppose it's made me think of a few different things. One was just that was so little, and it was the most emotionally affecting thing in the film. So a 3.5 hour long film, there was 3 tiny little scenes that just were, like, I think, the best bits. That meant almost nothing to the story and, whatever. But also, there was just this sort of assumption that people would understand it. And it made me think about whether a modern audience would understand it. Like the Sermon on the Mount bit particularly.
Yeah.
Because it was so not mentioned what it was. You didn't see, the bit where he gave him water, it was kind of obvious that it was Jesus. And I think most people would know that iconography kind of thing. But the Sermon on the Mount bit, it just happened in the background, and I just thought, well, God, in the 50s, like, no, filmmakers just thought, of course everyone will know what the Sermon on the Mount is. I'm not saying people don't now, but I wonder you wouldn't, if this were the new Superman film. Sorry to keep bashing on Superman, but I think he can take it. He's stronger than me. If you were going to do an equivalent, and of course you wouldn't in 2025, but the new big Marvel film comes out and you want to just put the Sermon on the Mount in the background, someone would have to literally walk up to the camera and go, "Oh my God, guys, that's the Sermon on the Mount. That's Jesus Christ telling you all of his things." And I just think and that's partly because I think we're stupider than we were back then, and I include myself in that. And it's partly because, and I think it's partly obviously because the biblical stories have just been sort of ignored for so many years, and so many people just don't know them. And I think how films are made as well. Again, like, there isn't anything that would happen in a new Superman film that wasn't fully described in full, so that you knew exactly what was going on. And it was just nice to watch a film where my intelligence wasn't insulted.
Yeah. I think that particular bit, I think you're completely right. I loved that it was not. It's so funny because the beginning of the film, it says the story of Christ or something, and it does not become about him. It's actually
in the title, isn't it? Yeah. It's Ben Hur amongst the story of Christ or something. It's a weird title.
Yeah, something came up at the beginning. And actually, like you say, it's just two concurrent stories, and where they interweave. And it does say on the back of the thing, like, at one point he meets Jesus Christ. So it's kind of like floated in there and not really made to be.
But that's on the back of a
story.
DVD that's been made for a modern audience.
Yeah,
I mean,
true,
I don't think that was true of the
wasn't
people
it?
going to the cinema in 1958 or whatever.
But it is interesting that, it's this. It proclaims, like, in its tagline, "This is the story of Christ," and then mentions him shows him 3 times without showing him. But like you say, the 3 moments are really effective for getting across that story. Helping someone at the point at which they needed help, and then he got to try and return the favor, and then there's that bit. That bit where he walks past the Sermon on the Mount, that is so, for all the reasons you said, there's an expectation that the audience would know what that is and what he was then missing. It's like, we don't have an equivalent, but you're missing something absolutely fantastic that's about to happen.
And the reason
you're
is just
missing
because you're annoyed.
You're pissed off and you're stomping off in a mood. Speaks so, that could not be more appropriate for the times we're living in. Like, the things you miss because you are turned inwards on yourself, that you don't look out and see what's happening around you, and what wisdom, it's also about, we think we know best and we're not listening to people who are wise. We think our inner world much more important than the outer world, isolating ourselves rather than engaging with culture and with community. It's just so much said in one simple angry Charlton Heston walking past a hill.
Which, ironically, by the way, is pretty much the message of the Sermon on the Mount as well.
Oh, really?
Well, the Sermon on the Mount is everything in one in 3 pages. But yeah, it's definitely some of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's important to. It's funny that we, as a human race, are potentially not going to understand that message now, because that we don't have our biblical stories in commonplace now, but we don't have anything. It's at a time where we could really, it's because we don't listen to the stories that we used to tell, that we are probably all guilty of being Charlton Heston walking angrily past the hill.
Well, I think it's worse. I think with the
encouraged.
religion has been replaced with politics, which is an example of angrily walking past a hill.
Yeah.
So the problem is that the very thing that has replaced positive stories is the exact opposite of positive stories.
Yeah.
So whatever however important politics may be, or your specific set of politics may be, is fine. But I don't think anybody can not see that, for the most part, what politics means in 2025 is negativity against, it's being against something, it's not being for something.
Yeah, exactly.
So replacing whatever you think of religion, a fundamentally positive message, with a fundamentally negative one, is of course going to make our souls melt.
Some of the comeback to that might be, there's negative messages within religion. I guess I'm not agreeing.
There
with
isn't
this.
negative messages in the Sermon on the Mount.
No, of course not. But I'm going to go straight to, and this is a very biased opinion, but someone like Sam Harris would argue that Islam is full of this, that, and the other. The Palestinian Gaza war at the minute is being fought by essentially 2 different sides of 2 different religions. I'm not saying that that's right. I'm just saying. But
you're mixing up the religious message with the behaviour of people that follow a religious message.
I think that's. I think this is why religion gets dragged through. I'm not trying to partake in it. I'm just arguing the other sides. I think this is where religion gets dragged through it a bit, because people blame religion for wars, but like you say, it's the behaviour of people. Fundamentalism is not religion. On any side. I'm just waffling on now, but I just
no.
I just think more than ever, that sort of story and that sort of focus on positivity, and you're right, being for something as opposed to just fighting against. I'm thinking now, like I've accidentally seen the news recently, and the world's horrendous if you only see it through that lens, and most people only see it through that lens.
Yeah.
And it's just
no
wonder people's souls are crushing.
Yeah, you don't have to look, and actually looking doesn't help.
No, of course not. It really doesn't help at all.
So we do it for nothing.
No. People say that they do it to be informed, but you're not being informed.
But you're
being crushed.
But 2025 does not inform you in a sort of balanced, thoughtful way. It informs you about something that's going to wind you up, and it listens to what you think already and tells you more of that, and tells you the extreme opposite of that, so that you think that everybody is either exactly like you or completely different to you.
And I don't think that we're being conspiratorial here either. Like I kind of want to, because I can imagine how that might sound.
I mean,
I don't think it's even a conspiracy. Like it's a bona fide.
Social media companies literally advertise it as a way for people to sell their products. It's not a conspiracy. It's out there in the open.
So those things are bona fide facts, but the things that we need to remember. So I got a message from my good friend Tanya today. I hope she doesn't mind me sharing this sort of stuff, but she's having a really difficult time with her dad at the minute for this very particular reason. He's following kind of politics over everything, and it's driving wedges. Like it drives wedges with people that I'm just like, I mean, we've talked about this loads of times, so actually I'm going to stop waffling on about it, but I just hate when people pick their political opinions and are encouraged to do so by every news thing and every social media thing, and it's picking a side and who are you against over family and just like being friendly and finding purpose that isn't just that. And we miss a lot. And I feel bad that people, I feel sad for those people. That sounds patronising, but I can't do it any other way. I feel sad for those who have gone in that way down the rabbit hole, which I would say is an awful lot of people. Some people are very far down it, but most people.
Yes, but you're also almost by suggestion also judging those people.
Yeah.
So those people have within what you're describing are the baddies. So it's like, oh, it's so sad that this person has had this political idea that I disagree with. Well, is it? Again, not to go back to the Sermon on the Mount too much, but that's where love your enemy is such a wonderful message. It's the point is that the somebody having a different political opinion to you could be nothing. So it doesn't need to even be discussed.
100%. That's not what I mean. I can appreciate that. It's more when the people having those political opinions they're putting a wedge between, they're allowing their political opinion to deny them their family. Because their family want to be involved with them, but they don't want to because of their political... This has become too personal of a thing for us to discuss on this podcast, I think. I know. I'm just waffling on. But anyway, love thy enemy. Yada, yada.
Well, also, maybe it comes down to a little bit of like expectations as well. It's the same as our expectations on the ending of Lost being the one that we want. It's the same as saying, I expect my dad to be the way that I want my dad to be. And that's fair enough. Everyone would feel that way and does feel that way. But ultimately, that's the sort of beauty of, sorry, this really isn't a Sermon on the Mount podcast, but, that's the message, isn't it? The message is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are, what you've done, what you think, what you've thought, what you say, what you might say. I'm just going to love you anyway. And the thing is with that is that's not that's quite a nice way to live, maybe, or you could say, oh yeah, but you'll get taken advantage of or whatever. But actually, that's not the point. The point is that you, by doing that, you're showing somebody actually the better thing. It's like
it's role modeling in a very like practical way, isn't it? It's like showing you.
I think it's probably even.
It's deeper than. I mean, it's much deeper than that. But I mean, it's showing someone a better way. This is how you could. Not a better way, because then that's a judgment, but.
Well, see, this is the problem.
It's so hard, isn't it?
Well, but it isn't that hard if you just let go of any idea of that. That's the thing. I mean, it is still hard, but that's the message.
Well,
the message of literally that is the message of the Sermon on the Mount. It's kind of let yourself go. It's the message of the Eightfold Path.
Well,
too.
this is what I was about to say.
I mean, maybe we should jump into that quickly so that we actually have something to say about this rather annoying last part of the Eightfold Path. It's just letting all of that go and saying, actually, my opinion isn't important. Me being happy isn't really important. And by doing so, that sounds like a negative thing, but it's in Stoicism, it's in everything. We talk about this all the time. You get rid of your opinions and all of a sudden nothing is a problem anymore.
Yeah. I remember we learnt it on the silent retreat. I remember that was my only question for the teacher was, you should have compassion for everyone, and anyone who is treating you ill is just in a different place, and you just wish for them to be in whatever place is going to make them happy, and you have to treat them kindly no matter what. And so, you know, it was described as treat everyone with compassion, and Goenka would be going, you know, bless them for not knowing better. And so, I queried whether that was pity, and is pity not a judgment and negative? But again, you know, the teacher was like, well, in order to have pity, you're coming from a place of compassion. You can't do it any other way.
Well, also, you've also put a category on it, haven't you?
Mm.
So pity isn't one thing. So pity is what you think is pity.
Yeah, that's true.
But
true.
that what you think is pity might be to someone else pure compassion.
Yeah.
Or it might be pure sort of, I don't know, insulting behaviour.
Yeah,
I
or
don't know.
patronising.
Patronising, yeah. But it's about not making it's about not placing those
judgments.
Categories, I think. Not placing categories on things.
Yeah.
Like that.
There we go.
Well, there we go. So yeah, mine's Ben Hur. I might say one other actually, because I don't think we're going to have that much to say about this thing. And to be honest, you know, it's really late, guys. So
yeah, we can write this one off, but not yet.
I wrote a song
Aww.
From scratch, completely on my own, and it's not very good. Don't worry, I'm not going to like play it to you or anything. But I just had this. Well, I won't tell you the story, but had this feeling that I would write a song, and obviously I write songs a lot with haste, and writing lyrics all the time, and putting those lyrics to music, but I don't write the music in haste. And so I've been in that band for whatever it is now, 8 years, and Dead Anyways, which was the band I was in before, I did write the songs from scratch for, but hadn't for quite a long time. So it's probably been 10 years is the point I'm trying to make, since I sat down with an acoustic guitar, or even played an acoustic guitar, and then didn't my fingers know it.
Oh dear.
And I just thought, I'm just going to see what happens. I had a day off, and I thought I would just sit down with a guitar, write some words, write a song. It was fine, but it's not about whether the song was any good. I wasn't doing it for any reason. I wasn't planning on doing anything with it. I've got nothing to do with it. I just wanted to see if I could still do it, and I could, and it was fine. But the important thing is not about whether the song was any good or not. The important thing was that it was like 3 hours of my life where I was just purely in flow state, having a lovely time. Every now and again something would come up, and I'd think, oh yeah, that's really good, which was a really nice feeling. Turned out at the end, yeah, it was all right. But that's neither here nor there. It doesn't really matter. I don't know, I'm not really going anywhere with that, but it was just a nice thing to do, and it was and I think just that I felt like the process of doing it and the process of being in the flow state for a while, and kind of doing it without any expectations, but putting my all into it anyway, meant that I then felt really good for the rest of the day. And I didn't feel really good because I thought, I've just written a really great song. Because I didn't think that. I actually thought, it just sounds like all those other ones I used to write 10 years ago. And they were fine. Yeah, so I didn't feel good for that reason. I felt good just for the process of doing it.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm going to do it again for a long time, but I might just, every now and again, I might just grab the thing and do it and see what happens. So
is that for you, would you say that's a pretty legit, reliable way that you can get into the flow state?
Yeah. But I mean, I have a few of those, in fairness. I mean, I think working on anything, when I used to write poetry a lot, that was definitely, I would just lose an hour or two, and then at the end of it, a poem would come out.
Yeah.
And that was lovely. I think even writing assignments, when I sit down and kind of just concentrate on writing an assignment, and really just writing and making anything, starting with nothing, starting with something blank, and then putting something on it. I don't think I've ever not found myself at least in flow a little bit, unless it's really going badly and I'm getting annoyed. But again, if you remove any expectations, which you can't do if you're writing an assignment for a course or something, but you definitely can with songwriting. You can sit down and just write a song and be like, it doesn't matter if this is the worst song ever written.
But I would say that sometimes you need the expectation or like a goal in order to keep focused, because otherwise you could then not get into that flow state. Like, it has to, we've talked about this before, the stakes have to be slightly high in as much as to keep, or it needs to be difficult enough to keep you engaged, doesn't it?
Yeah, maybe that's about just fooling yourself. Because, I mean, for me, it's enough that I just want to finish a song.
Well, I think this is what makes you pretty determined. That is enough for you. So you can say, I'm going to do this, and you will do it.
Yeah, that's kind of on the opposite end, though. What I more mean is that it means enough to me. Even if I'm writing a song that no one is ever going to hear, that means enough to me to get me. There's enough pressure on that.
Yeah, you can,
But I never used to be very good at that. I mean, I was really bad at that. My entire life, I've spent, basically, if I'd ever done that, if I'd ever got an inkling of like, I might write a song in this style, then I wouldn't just write a song in that style. I would be finding band members and, designing album artwork before the end of that first day, probably. Like I was always really just like, right, this is what I do now.
Like not obsessional, but it becomes
probably
your
obsessional.
Yeah. Well, that has a funny tone to it.
But this just wasn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's getting old. I mean, who wants to hear a song written by a 45-year-old white man?
Requests to shamcityroses@gmail.com, and
I think I've forgotten it. I don't think anyone even could. But in a way, that makes it even more beautiful.
Yeah,
I think I can vaguely remember it, and probably if I sat down with the guitar, I could work it out. But
it wouldn't be the same.
I've never written it down. I know where the capo was. Like that's about as far as I've gone.
Where'd you dust that off from?
I was just on the end of the guitar, and I got it from the loft.
There you go. Beautiful.
Right, we should move on.
We should
now.
Yeah.
To the final part in our Noble Eightfold Path journey.
I know.
It's been quite a journey.
16 weeks, technically.
16 weeks.
There you go.
No longer, because we had a break in the middle.
Oh, gosh, we do have a break. There you go.
Obsessed we've been. Absolutely obsessed.
Definitely.
And so this one's right concentration, and we'll get into the sort of definitions and things, but I think it's probably fair to say that right concentration is one that we've pretty much talked about already, and it's sort of annoying that they've plonked it on the end, they being, the Buddha.
Okay.
But we'll get to that. So, Siobhan, do you have any explanations?
So Thich Nhat Hanh has said, the practice of right concentration is to cultivate a mind that is one-pointed. He says the Chinese character for concentration means literally maintaining evenness, neither too high nor too low, neither too excited nor too dull. And another term in Chinese says it means the abode of true mind. Mm-hmm. He talks about active concentration and selective concentration. Active is about noticing things coming and going, and not being attached, and not just thinking nothing more than just noticing. And selective is when we have a point of concentration that we focus on. So you can do both of these in meditations. There's meditations for both, and both have a point. I guess the active one is just letting things come and go. You can do both at the same time in that Vipassana, actually. The thoughts coming in and going, you just observe. You don't go, oh, get rid of that, so on and so forth. And the selective part is when you're concentrating on your one-pointedness of your breathing, of your body scanning. The point of it is that we don't use concentration to run away from our suffering. We concentrate to make ourselves deeply present. When we can walk, stand, or sit in concentration, people can see our stability and stillness, and we are living in each moment deeply. It leads to happiness, and it also leads to right action, and then so on and so forth. It links into all of the other bits of the Eightfold Path, like we've found every time we describe all the others.
And I think the other parts of the path link into it as well, right?
Yeah.
You can't really have right concentration if you're all messed up on all the other 7.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, completely.
Well, I don't know if you've been listening to this series that we've been doing. Traditionally, I think the way this works is that Siobhan will read out from her very highfalutin, very thoughtful, sometimes a bit woo-woo-y Buddhist teachers, and I come in with Brad Warner, and Brad Warner basically just has like 3 lines.
He puts his cap on backwards.
He does, but not with right concentration. So this is the sort of thing we're dealing with, ladies and gentlemen. In early Buddhist texts, there are lots of details about what right concentration means. They use the word jhana, might be saying that wrong, but I don't think I am.
No, that's how you say it.
To refer to special states of concentration. You're supposed to start with the first jhana, which is rapture and pleasure born of withdrawal, accompanied by directed thought and evaluation. Then you go on to jhana number 2, which is rapture and pleasure born of composure, unification of awareness, free from directed thought and evaluation, internal assurance. After you get that...
Are you going to do all 9?
I thought there was only 3. After you get that, you go on to jhana 3, which is equanimous and mindful and the abandoning of pleasure and pain. Finally, so there aren't 9, there are 4. Number 4 is equanimity and mindfulness, neither pleasure nor pain, and concentration that leads to a pleasant abiding in the here and now.
There you go.
Personally, I don't get all that. The cat went on backwards then. I don't see how anyone can judge what jhana they themselves are in, and I don't see how someone else could judge it from the outside either. So it seems a little silly to me to even worry about it. That suggests to me that it's almost a bit of a pointless one.
Even though it's a one-pointedness of mind.
Well, there you go. The Zen folks basically just allow whatever state they're in to be exactly as it is without trying to determine if it's jhana number 3 or whatever.
I mean, I think there's a bit of this that it risks poo-pooing the hard work and the importance of having a process and things to aim for and things to know that you are doing, which I think is the good and the bad thing about Buddhism. Because so I say 9 because Thich Nhat Hanh is talking about there's 9 levels of active concentration, not active concentration, but states of concentration, and it ends with jhana, which then has 4. There's an eightfold path, there's 5 precepts, there's all these things that I think are important to. It's the thing that puts people off, for sure. And these ones that, Brad maybe worded it particularly awkwardly, so we'd all go, ugh, what the hell. But I think it is important to have these kind of like processes and ritualized thinkings and stepping up, even though, unfortunately, I think Buddhism does a lot of repetition and a lot of things interweave and tread on each other. But I think that shows it's all interlinked and it's all important. And when it comes to things like the Noble Eightfold Path, we talked about removing mindfulness from that and how it becomes ineffective. I think there is a purpose in having all these kind of like interweaving different things to think about. It does make it confusing, does make it unachievable, it does make it a lot to take in.
Yeah, but in some ways, I don't see any of that as necessarily being a problem. I mean, I think that the having all of those different things and it being something that puts people off, I think might be the point. In as much as, in order to do this, you've really got to want to. This is going to sound a bit Mr. Miyagi-y, and I don't mean it to. Or like that thing where they make Buddhist monks stand outside the door and tell them to get. Well, no, Fight Club. That's Fight Club. Sorry, that's Fight Club. And Meatloaf is outside the door and he's shouting at him.
Got to do 3 days.
Yeah, there's. I think that was based on Buddhist monks, actually. I think I have read that.
No, I think they do. I think they even reference it in the film. I don't think you're wrong. Yeah.
And Palahniuk is all over the shop with that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think that there's necessarily anything wrong with making something hard, because you need to go through something in order to get anything. I mean, that's the whole point of accepting suffering. I mean, it's sort of kind of what we were talking about earlier, but in the Buddhist terms, accepting suffering and then sort of dealing with it, but not expecting it to go away, and that's not an easy thing to do, so it's fine. And then I also don't think that repetition is a problem, because repetition in a ritualized sense is really useful, and certainly all religions, that's what they do. That's one of the things that they're so good at, is repeating important things to you over and over again, because they know that we're all useless and we're all going to forget them, or we're going to not live by them or whatever.
And I think also there's something about having these steps that go upwards, and it could be argued what you're going up towards, God, divinity, heaven, enlightenment. It doesn't matter what's at the top. It's about improvement for the sake of, not just for yourself, because there is no self, but So when you have these like woo-woo-esque ways of describing where you're aiming for, it doesn't matter that it sounds completely bonkers or unachievable or, makes no sense, because I think the purpose is just to strive towards something for the sake of striving towards something and everything that comes with that. And so, Brad Warner's deliberately made, whilst the whole book is all in like, yeah, dude language, I think he's deliberately...
It's not quite that bad.
I know.
It's not a juggalo.
But I think, I remember something that resonated really strongly from the silent retreat was how at the beginning it was like, oh, you will be changed, you will be changed, you will be changed. And then slowly but surely through the days, it's like, you will be changed, but this is like a drop in the ocean. And you need multiple lives, like metaphorically or really, whatever you want to believe in that. It doesn't matter. The point is, if you believe that you need multiple lives to get better, it isn't pointless to just get a tiny bit better during your life.
Yeah.
Like it's trying to say like it's all for something, even if all that does is make sure you put effort in every day, even if the ultimate is that you're gonna get the tiniest % better in your lifetime. It's not that it doesn't matter. It's all one journey.
Yeah.
However you want to see that.
But I suppose there's also something to be said for the fact that the striving of trying to do it is actually the thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
So getting somewhere is really not the point.
Yeah.
One of the things, so after reading that thing that Brad Warner had said, the thing I wrote down was, how can something unjudgeable be right? So what I think I meant by that was, like, if you can't judge, I can't look at someone else and say they're doing this concentration in this way and they're doing it correctly.
Yeah.
And I can't judge myself because I can try and concentrate on something, but my idea of what concentration is could be completely obscure in comparison to every other human being, and so could theirs equally. So I initially thought to myself, well, yeah, so why have they... I'm a bit annoyed that it's not a sevenfold path in a way, because you follow them through and you get to mindfulness, which, as we've talked a lot about, shouldn't be taken just on its own for very good reasons. But in a way, concentration and mindfulness to me were just sort of like, well, is this just petty? Like, aren't they just sort of the same? And I know Buddhists would say, no, they're not the same. There's books written about concentration that could say, but aren't they actually what we're doing, or certainly what we're ever going to do in our lives? Aren't they just the same? And I think I've realised why the argument against that, really, and that is that actually trying to have right concentration, even if you have no idea what concentration is, let alone what right concentration is, the trying to have it and putting the effort in to try and have it is the thing. That is the spiritual path.
Yeah.
That is enlightenment in a funny sort of way, because it's the same way that you get into a flow state, right? It's the same, like the flow state. The song is not the thing at the end. The flow state was the thing.
Yeah, the journey.
And so equally, the same goes for all of this. It's like you can talk about enlightenment as much as you want. You can talk about being right in all these different areas. But ultimately, what you're actually doing is just the trying to be right in these areas.
Like the umbrella term could be right intention over all of this. Which I think actually is one that I can't remember now, but one of the paths just kind of do that. Because I remember it comes up in livelihood most predominantly. You can't necessarily pick a better, like not everyone can pick a better job at the point in which they're in. So imagine you're following all the other parts of the path really well, but you work in somewhere that produces animal poison and you cannot get a job anywhere else for any other reason, or this, serves the shift pattern works really well for you being able to look after your kids. You kind of come up against a bit of a barrier. You're just like, oh, well, 7 out of 8, but if you're not going to do the 8th, then you're not doing it right. But this is where intention comes in, isn't it? It's about what can you do within the company to make practices better? Can you treat people kindly within it? Can you be actively looking for something else? Behind all of that, only you know, which is your intention.
Yeah, and you're describing all of the obscure things. So again, right livelihood in many ways, and I'm sure when we talked about it, we were probably being quite blunt, seems like a really practical one.
Yeah.
It seems like just one, like, if you're not killing anything, You're basically trying to do a job which, the outcome of which isn't bad in any way, and that you can kind of be proud of. It seems really practical. But actually, it's much more obscure than that. What is right livelihood? Actually, there's probably an argument, to me, I don't know, this isn't a job, but if you were a fox hunter, and that's not a job, then I would think that was the worst thing in the world. But someone who was really into fox hunting would think that was brilliant.
Or like a pest control, for example.
Yeah. I mean, that's a perfect example, actually, because loads of people, if they actually had an infestation of actual whatever pests, would probably call in pest control no matter what their feelings are about it, because you can't you can't live like that. And so where does that leave that person's job, and where does that leave our relationship with someone who does that job? And it suddenly becomes much more ethereal and strange, It
also, like, an overarching thing, and you touched on this already this episode, is it reminds me that you cannot judge someone else. You just cannot, because you can never, and this is like a bit of a pop culture, pop psychology thing to say, but you can never know what's going on for someone else. And we hear it all the time, but we rarely, especially in the world right now, we rarely take that literally. And everyone's judging everyone else all the bloody time, and willing to lose friendships and family over things like politics, like their decisions. Like, I remember when we ran a vegan cafe, and if people were vegan and getting vegan tattoos and then deciding they weren't vegan anymore, people, other people were like, ugh, making such judgments, and you just don't know what's gone on for that person as to why. I used to say your morals are your own for this very reason, and they're changeable, and you can think what you like whenever you like, but only you and whoever you believe you're judged by you're answerable to, and no one else. And so with that, when everyone's living their right life and doing, following the Eightfold Path and these are guides. Some of them are quite strict, but it's only to help you get to that point, however you need to get there. But your intention is, only you know your intentions. And so no one should judge you.
So what has any of this got to do with right concentration? So, I mean, obviously there is definitely a real practical side to this. Eightfold Path, and I do think, would you disagree with this? I mean, I do think it is more or less the same as mindfulness, and again, I'm sure there's people who know a lot more about the subject, but from just a practical, personal point of view, or maybe I should say that concentration is a part of being mindful. I think you can't do mindfulness without right concentration. So why do you think it's on the end?
Because I think this is where Buddhism throws in the reason they have the jhanas and they have the levels of concentration. So mindfulness is the practice, and I think concentration is where a very specific part of the practice meets the outcome. And this is why I think it's a bit of a thing, because, and this is where Brad Warner says, how can you judge it? How is it achievable? How do you know someone else has got it? But this is where, you judge whether you're aiming for equanimity, which is not feeling plussed here or there, like just being at peace with nothing. Whereas mindfulness,
John 2. Yeah.
I don't know where we're at.
I can't remember.
But I think mindfulness is kind of the practice of getting there, whereas concentration is more the practice meeting a way of measuring it, which I don't really like, and I think that's why this bit feels a bit clunky and a bit ugh. And maybe I've completely misunderstood it, but that's definitely Thich Nhat Hanh's chapter on this starts with a nice introduction that I've kind of mentioned, and then the rest of it is talking about the 9 levels of concentration, ending with just being like completely at peace and completely, which I guess maybe this isn't enlightenment, but that kind of starts like bleeding into that sort of section. Whereas I think what's quite nice about everything else, it hasn't felt very goal orientated, and this one feels a bit goal orientated, which can kind of bring up feelings of ego. I think when I first started doing meditation, and not when I first started doing it, when I first started to try and do it regularly using the Sam Harris app, it's it's really, I mean, he does this meditation kind of removed from Buddhism, which I think makes it a bit difficult for this reason. It's very like, you are aiming to be equanimous. You are like, there's going to be a time where you just don't even notice thoughts, or you just feel no way towards them, and you can, be really wide and really open and all these things that you can't really explain, but for no reason other than you will get there. It won't be great.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what you get if you put a psychopath in control of an app.
But it's also what happens when you remove mindfulness from all the other bits, I think. And I think concentration is the only bit that falls into that trap slightly within the 3 books I've read that talk about right concentration. It's about like levels to achieve, whereas I don't see that in all the other bits. The other bits are kind of like off their own merit, whereas this is about like aiming for something that I think it's better to, like you said earlier, it's better to aim for a goal that's unachievable than to consider that these are achievable aims, because then it becomes very self and ego again, which I just think it's just weird to me.
So maybe I'm taking it wrong, but this is kind of one of the ways that I thought about it. Maybe right concentration is almost what you get to by doing the other ones. And by that, what I mean is, do you think on a personal level that your concentration levels, and again, this is obscure and only you can judge what they were and what they are and whatever, have your concentration levels within life generally improved as a result of meditating, or as a result of being mindful, or as a result of considering all of the other Eightfold Path aspects?
Yes, when applying all parts of the Eightfold Path, and only when. So the best example is after the 10-day silent retreat, where Goenka is really clever in the way that he set it up. You can't help but follow the Eightfold Path because of the practical things that are put in place when you do a 10-day silent retreat. So you're kind of forced to, no matter what, and you accidentally are doing it. And it's not an accident, it's very deliberate. And so my concentration after that was just like astounding, because you have this massive reset. And
just to describe, if you can, in a few, what would that look like? So what's better concentration for you? Like concentrating on, say, reading better, not having, or is it like
being able to focus attention really clearly, whether that in meditation, whether that be reading, whether it be like a wider concentration, awareness and concentration are different, but being able to be really wide open and then really focused, and be able to do that kind of swiftly,
do you think
not be distracted by emotion or immediate reaction? So that's kind of the other bits. It doesn't really answer the concentration, but by not doing that, you can concentrate better.
Well, do you consider lack of focus is the opposite of concentration?
Yeah, I think so.
Because focus is definitely an aspect of this. To some extent,
I think focus and concentration would be the same thing.
You think they're the same? Yeah. Okay.
For this purpose, I would say.
Do you think that was just because you had 10 days not looking at your phone? I'm not saying that to dig.
Not just that. I think it's everything. That is
a
big part
10
of it.
days outside of what the modern world tells you is a successful and normal and good life.
Yeah, but it's two things. It's removal of those things, and it's putting the effort and the practice into the Eightfold Path.
Yeah.
So it's not just the absence of things. And this is what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm fully aware of the negative things in daily life that we're told are good. And I think if we try and only act in the way of removing, then we're setting ourselves up to fail a little bit, because we can't get on in the world without some of these things because of the way the world has become. And that's not trying to excuse it. And this feels a bit like the end of Stolen Focus, where it's like, don't worry, it's not your fault, which we've talked about before, and the frustrations with the ending of that book.
It is your fault.
But I think there's the negatives, which are the things you can remove, as in, I mean negatives in the way of, not that they're bad for you, but that it's the removal of things that gets you to it. But it's also the positive things, and that's the practice, the things you can add to your life. And I think it's a mixture of the two. I think for me, I need to keep practicing. And at the minute, I feel like my practicing is buffering my negative, and I'm kind of meeting in the middle. So you can do that. You can go about that a couple of ways. You can further remove the things, which is what I should do. And there's doing better, more effortful, more regular practice, which is the other thing. And I want to do both, but it's about actively doing both and thinking about both. And it's not just removing, and it's not just more.
We've sort of talked about this. A good chunk of the Eightfold Path is not doing things, though, isn't it? Well, I think it's something that, in fairness, we are not told about in our modern society.
And
our modern
not
society
now.
says but that's the modern society
as modern as
of now.
today,
yeah,
yes.
Because and we've said this before, but if you have a problem, you're told to add something to it, or buy something, or to take part in something which is going to make it better. And in some respects, you could argue going on a 10-day silent retreat is that too. But I think that one of the things that I've learned more and more and more, and definitely this had some standing on it, is it's actually just about taking things away. It's about not doing the things you don't need to do. It's about not having things. It's about not taking part in things. It's not about saying, and the obvious one is, I don't know, you feel really sad and depressed, and so you could either add a load of things to that. So someone could say, take this medication, go to this help group, go and see this person. None of those things are bad. But there's another way of doing it whereby you just take away the negative aspects of that are making you depressed. Yeah. And potentially that works just as well. Now, it's different for different folks, of course. Yeah. But yeah.
I do think there's a checks and balances on it. The more that I've done it, and the more that because the other answer to that question you asked me about, is my concentration better, is at the minute probably not, because I think I'm just about balancing. And I think of all the people, now I sound like a patronising. I think of me pre-meditating.
Yeah, you would have just been in the filth.
You'd be in the minus by quite some way. So I'm not going to try and be too attached or too negative or anything about this. I'm just very realistic in that the efforts I'm putting in is probably getting me to about 0, which is fine. But it's just, I'm aware of that, and there's room to improve that, but also being aware that this feels like my 0. But I just wonder what other people who don't have any practice in their life, don't have any kind of
again, we were
focus.
those people not very long ago. I mean, I know exactly how that felt.
Yeah.
I mean, it felt like I wanted to die half the time. I mean, it's not like, it wasn't a nice, fun feeling. Like you don't have to be big-headed to compare yourself with yourself.
Yeah, true.
And so I would, I still get frustrated with, so talking about concentration specifically, like, I still get frustrated with myself sometimes that I can't quite concentrate enough, or I'm trying to read something, it's generally in reading, trying to read something quite difficult, and it's not going in, and I can't get it. But I'm in a place where I have the space to actually do it. Whereas 2 years ago, me wouldn't have even been able to. And that's not to say I wouldn't have sat with the same book in front of my nose, but I just would not have been able to engage with it in any way. And so it's not, certainly not that now all of a sudden my concentration is brilliant, but I can compare it with memories of what 2 years was, or 3 years or whatever it was. And but also, and I think concentration does come into happiness and mood and all those different things.
This is
you pick whichever.
Yeah. Sitting that hand says concentration is the whole point. If you have right concentration, it only leads to happiness.
That's certainly been my experience. I think the ability to, and I get this from the Eightfold Path specific, all of it, but I think the concentration helps. The ability to let things come, like to observe, let things come and go, to have wide concentration, and to have selective on things that through the other parts you get to because of right thought and right action. It can only lead to happiness, I think. Because, I mean, if you concentrate on crappy things because the other parts aren't right,
then yeah, of course, it's probably not going to lead to anything great. But if you can use your concentration, select it, focus it, have that ability to do that with all the other parts of the path in place, yeah, I feel like it's the final bit to making sure that you get to happiness.
Yeah. So yeah, what you concentrate on is who you pretend to be is who you are.
That's going to be
I've reworded it.
Just every episode.
It so that you might think it was a new idea.
Has this been a ruse just so you can get to that point to just throw that in again?
No, I think I've said that almost on every... Well, definitely on every episode full stop, but every one of this Eightfold Path. But I mean...
the Eightfold Path, who you pretend to be is who...
See, you're rewording it now.
Already, yeah.
Poor little old Vonnegut. He was probably drunk and it was probably 3 a.m. when he wrote that.
Oh.
Can you imagine? Anyway, so do you think... So, okay. So, I mean, we're coming to the end. We finished the Eightfold Path. We accepted that we didn't have much to say about right concentration. And so our plan was to pretty much spend most of this episode kind of looking back over the journey, as it were, or like all that we've learned from doing this for the last 16 to possibly 18 weeks.
Or just talking about Lost, and we didn't do that very well.
Yeah, well,
anyway.
yeah. Well, also, it's late, guys. We're sleepy. But I think both of our attitudes towards right concentration in the first instance was a little bit like, nah, what's the point? But actually, maybe the whole point of the whole Eightfold Path, or at least the other 7 points of what I'm going to now call the Sevenfold Path, is to get to the eighth fold.
Well, I mean,
it is concentration is basically what you win.
Well, that's definitely how it's explained in both the Christmas Humphreys book and the Thich Nhat Hanh book. I didn't even go the Christmas Humphreys book because that was just babble. Brad Warner would agree. But
not without turning his hat backwards.
But it does, like, yeah, you know, when we were about to do this, I was just like, I looked in the chapters. This is a bit of a slog. And I don't really like the tone and da-da-da. But yeah, you're right. Discussing it through, I'm just like, the thing I don't like about it is it's quite goal-orientated and it feels like it's what you're aiming for. But I guess it does, you know, who knew? All these books seem to be right. But it does seem like it's kind of
2,500 years worth of knowledge is right?
Weird. And I was just going to throw it away, religious nuts. But yeah, it does all kind of culminate in, yeah, the thing that you win. I like that. But it is kind of like the outcome, as it were. But it's an outcome that still feeds other things, you know.
Well,
right concentration leads
though,
to right action and leads to so on and so forth. So
yeah, I mean, my experience of my life is over the past couple of years is that through various practices, but mostly of this ilk and mostly meditation orientated, my concentration has improved, and as a result of my concentration improving, everything else has improved.
Yeah.
You know, within the context of the Eightfold Path, but also just really within the context of life generally. Yeah. And so it gives you, you feel like you've got more space, so you can concentrate more on improving other things. Yeah. And it's the John Vervaeke thing that we haven't mentioned him for a while, but you know, that kind of circular thing. It's
well, John.
You do something good. He's not listening. You do something.
If he is, he's pulling that small amount of hair out.
They have not
what
understood
the fuck?
a word. But yeah, you do something good and you get something good back, and then you do, and then the circle just continuously increases. And I think that concentration is kind of like almost like the spur of the wheel, if you like, you know. Although it's not, of course, because it's all one wheel and whatever. But in my mind, it's like you keep coming back to it, and then it's improving the other ones, and then you keep coming back to it, and it's slightly better, and it improves the other ones again.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really practically shown through meditation. Like, I think that you're not meant to be like, oh, I'm getting better at it. But you know, that's why we have 10-day retreats. That's why there are these like intense bits, because you kind of bank a bit of concentration, as it were. And I do think it's a bit of a checks and balances, and you're absolutely not meant to think of it that way. And I'm trying not to like cling or feel aversion to these things, but I do think you can, like you say, you progress a lot with your concentration. I think it's not so quick to lose, but I think it does go wane, and so you have to continue to practice. But it's just so self-feedback looping, going upwards, it's late and my words have escaped me. But yes, I agree. John Vervaeke was right.
It's 8:30, ladies and gentlemen.
Jeez, that's bedtime. You know it, guys.
Yeah, I agree. And I suppose ultimately this is why we need any time. I mean, meditation is great, but we just need any type of sort of spiritual time in our day, regularly, even if it's brief, to do something which ultimately isn't trying to get anywhere. Has nothing to do with your employment, has nothing to do with any relationship with anybody else, has nothing to do with, or relationship with other people to a point, but not directly. Ideally, that's something that you do on your own, and it almost doesn't matter what it is. I mean, meditation is ideal because you kind of have to do it in that way, but it's just giving you. It's kind of the same as taking space between episodes of Lost and making you appreciate them more. It's kind of the same as taking 25 chews of all your food. It's like eking things out for longer so that you can actually appreciate them.
I think it's giving yourself space to do the things that aren't conscious to you as well. Like you trust that this stuff works, and you do it not because at the end of that meditation session you're going to feel wildly more concentration. Like 10 days gives you the illusion that it's achievable, but that was 10 days doing it 16 hours a day. So if you spread that out to a normal life and also factor in all the things in your day that get in the way, you're kind of like chasing the tiniest minimal bits. But it's a bit like, you know, on a very boring practical level, when you exercise, you have to allow your muscles to strengthen but with each time they get a little bit stronger and a little bit bigger, but only if you give them the time to do so. So you do kind of have to do it regularly and spread it all out to make it impactful. Don't just binge it and then hope it's going to work. Again, checks and balances. If you binge it, you might have a big, lovely influx of concentration, but it's
I thought you were going to say a big lovely thigh muscle.
One big thigh muscle. But yeah, there's something about like doing little and often and ritualizing it. I mean, that's the whole point of a ritual, right? Well, it's not the whole point, but having a routine ritualed practice is probably more the word that I'm looking for here. Just doing something for the sake of doing it, assuming it's doing you good. And if you pick something that people have been doing for years and years and years, well, the chances are the evidence is there that it's probably good, and you can just trust everyone else that's done it before. It's called having faith, I believe.
It is. So if there's any message that we can provide you, it's pick one.
Pick something.
Anything. But pick something. Something positive. And do it regularly. Let's call it a day, shall we?
Yeah.
And get ourselves off to bed. We're both dressed like Scrooge here with a little bed hat and got a little candle going. That sounded quite sexual, didn't it?
What, Scrooge? Yeah.
We'll see you in 2 weeks' time. And I don't know what we're going to be talking about. Yeah, one of the problems with finishing the Eightfold Path is that now we've got to plan episodes again.
Yeah. What next? Life after the Eightfold Path. Next week we'll be sat here in sunglasses, drinking whiskey, smoking, going, well, it didn't work.
I'll have my hat on backwards. If you'd like to contact us about anything, it's shamsatyroses@gmail.com. As ever, we don't publicise this podcast at all. We just hope that people will find it if they want it. And so if you have found it and you did want it and you think someone else might like to find it, might want it,
wow,
please let them know.
It is 8:30, guys.
And we'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, don't know what we'll talk about, but we will get there.
Have the time of your lives.
Please do.
Goodbye.
Bye.